Alright, and we should be live. Hi everyone, I'm Cryptic Hybrid. Welcome to this very special Tuesday live stream where we're gonna talk about a game that I'm following for quite a long time, and it's gorgeous, it's pretty, it's adorable, and here to talk about it is the one-person army who's pretty much behind almost all of it. We're gonna talk about more about that. This is Gonzalo from Massive Galaxy Studios. Hi, thanks so much for coming on.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's just go right in, right? Because we this is gonna be a speed run. With speed run, I'm gonna talk about LakeSide. If you don't know LakeSide, Gonzalo, give us an elevator pitch, 30 seconds. What would you, how would you explain the game in just half a minute to anyone?
Okay, LakeSide is a cozy city builder in side-scroll perspective, in which you have to build your town from a small town to a big town and build world wonders, and that's it.
okay, that's short but sweet. No, that's fine. That's great. And so it's a city builder. It's cozy. It's nice. But you know what? Before we get to the ins and outs of LakeSide, how did you get to LakeSide? What's the history of your game development, I guess journey? Tell us a little bit about Massive Galaxy Studios and previous projects.
Okay. So I've been trying to do games for a long time, since I was a kid. So I worked as a programmer in several companies, and I always wanted to make games like this, like premium games, and I started to try to do indie games back in 2015 when I was starting to do it more seriously. And I tried to do Massive Galaxy, which is a point-and-click adventure game that is actually, it's on Steam, the page. It's never been released. And it was a very ambitious project, and I gave the name, the studios, the same name of the game. And it never got released. I'm still hoping to release it someday. And but it was just too big of a game. But I learned a lot with experience, and a couple of years after, I managed to pick a little part of that game and create For the Warp, which is a roguelike deck builder, which got released, fortunately, in 2020 on Steam, and 2 years later, I got it on Switch. And of course, I always have ideas for new games, and always shelving new ideas and coming up with new stuff. So I decided to pick up a smaller project, which is called LakeSide, which is it's a side-scroll city builder. It's quite different from the other sci-fi games I've made, so it was a challenge. But fortunately, I do have help from my artist, Cosy, which does the art, and so this is. Well, it's a it's a city builder in side-scroll perspective, which does bring a few challenges, but yeah, I'm not, maybe that is, I'm running away from the original question, but anyway, yeah, I've been doing this for quite a long time, but since For the Warp, I've been able to do this as full-time indie developer, so.
Okay, nice.
So, yeah.
Okay, so this would be your second release as Massive Galaxy Studio, right?
Yeah, the second game being released, yeah.
And since you mentioned you've had lots of ideas, what other ideas have you shelved before, or you put on the bench and decided to go with LakeSide? What other type of project did you consider?
It's all about scope, because it's very important to know the scope of the project, because if you don't control that, you're never gonna release a game. So I've got several. it's like probably uncountable, but I do game jams, even trying to try to experiment with a new idea. LakeSide was actually a prototype. It was made on a game jam but I never actually released the game, but I had the idea for quite a long time. I think the original idea came from even DOS games back in 1990s. So yeah, it's not even based on recent games that people think that I've been inspired to, like Kingdom, because of the side scroll perspective. Yeah, no, it's even older games that I've played.
Okay, because I was actually thinking when when I first found out about Lakeside, and later on I got to play the demo and play the current build. I personally I don't remember any city builder like this with the strides. For me, the experience would be like SimCity would be like the classics of Impressions games, like Caesar, Zeus, Pharaoh, those types of games, and Lakeside kind of stands out to that because of the perspective and the limitations that come to it. So can you tell us a little bit about what that means? This this 2D perspective, right? Is this something that you wanted from the beginning in order to limit the scope of the game, or did you want to do something specific with this viewpoint and obviously again the limitations that come with it?
Yeah, well, two things. Yeah, the limitations, of course. The first point was I wanted to make a game that if you saw a screenshot, you didn't know it was a game. So it would look like more like art, just pixel art or something like that. And the promo art does show a bit of that. Of course, the promo art does show a bit more verticality. And it would be harder to make a game of very small houses. So, but the main inspiration was always make the game look like a piece of art. And that doesn't have like the obvious things from game like a grid or something like that. From other games like SimCity, and I also inspired with other games. But yeah, the idea was always to. I saw some arts a long time ago with side-scroll cities, and I kind of fell in love with it. And of course, the main inspiration I would say was from Civilization 1, the first one, 1993, I think. That it's a top-down strategy game, nothing like LakeSide. But when you could actually see the city view. You clicked on the city and you could see the buildings inside the city. So it's kind of a side-scroll view of the city, and you couldn't play there. The buildings just popped out. So, and I was always kind of obsessed with that idea, which we could build a city like that, and even the world wonders would appear on that city screen. Civilization, of course, evolved, changed a lot, and they kept on same games the city view, but I always liked that side scroll thing, and I wanted to transform it into a game, and this is it.
Right. I mean, first of all, it looks amazing, and one of the things that I think stands out is the visual style and the style of the building. Would you for me, it makes me think of maybe ancient Greek and Roman design and architecture. Is kind of like that what was the inspiration for the style of the buildings, or did you mix up any other elements from different civilizations from actual history, our actual history?
Yeah.
Maybe Egyptian too, like the boats, something like that, right?
Yeah, of course. To be fair, I actually got wonders from all over the world. I already got the sprites, about more than 30 wonders already, but I'm going to release it slowly. So I'm going to show it slowly during updates, because there's a lot of work in balancing the buildings and not just popping them on the game. So let's take a lot to make sure that the buildings fit. But regarding the styles, the base style I started with was I would say Greek time, ancient times, Greek and Roman style. But at the moment, there are 3 architectural styles. One is medieval Europe, one is Greek/Roman architecture, and the other is Mesoamerican architecture. And I'm actually hoping to introduce more 3 different styles. So when you build, for example, a windmill, or I don't know, the houses don't have a specific style. The houses are always the same. But for example, we'll build a granary, and the granary will have 3 styles at the moment. And my objective is to have 5 architectural styles, each inspiring a part of the world. Of course, I have to mix, because there are a lot of historically, of course, there are a lot of different cultures, but I have to mix and match. And about the world wonders, I have got most of the world wonders that exist nowadays that are known I've got versions inspired by it, basically.
So what's the place of the wonders in Lakeside? What's their importance? What's their significance in the game?
Well, they play a bit like Civilization, from Civilization games, in which you had a city and could build any wonder. It's not tied to what country you choose you're playing with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same thing. The wonders are something you can unlock. You need to choose some of them. It's not something you cannot choose a specific wonders. It depends on the drops that you get during the game. And what wonders do is that there are to unlock. They're a bit expensive, but they do a lot of stuff. So it's like you can build a wonder and get a lot of bonus. Also, it's a part of the victory condition. So if you build a lot of wonders, you win the game basically. It's like a end game situation. And there's also
Sorry.
Yes.
I was thinking, like, so a city can only hold one wonder, or will you be able to build multiple in the same?
Yeah, there are two types of wonders. The regular wonders, which are placed on next to the houses, and the big wonders, big world wonders, which are actually not built there. They appear on the scenery somewhere, and they're part of the victory condition. So at the moment, I only have one big wonder, which means it's basically a pyramid, mostly inspired on Egyptian architecture. And if you build that, you basically win the game. It's a victory condition, like the civilization games. So the mechanic. And the other wonders, the regular wonders, I would say you can place them there on the city. They do occupy a bit space. So if you build, at the moment, I think if you build like 3 or more, you also get a victory.
Okay.
And
you just have to find the space for it, like the resources and the space for it.
That'll be
the bigger challenge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the game tries to shuffle them and try to put them in position so they don't block too much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you can build 3 of them, you win the game basically. It's end game building, so a lot of the game you're not doing that. You're just managing your city, building other stuff. But by the end of the game, you will have those options.
Mm-hmm. So in LakeSide, what's let's say the role of the player? So we see when you start a game in LakeSide, you see a little house. It's called the chieftain's house. Are you the chieftain? Are you some sort of administrator? Is the player's role more than just, well, not just because he's omnipotent, right? But would you get any bonuses as you progress? Does your in-game character have any, impact on production, on the type of buildings that you get, and apart from the choices that the games give you, and you pick whatever you want?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. At the moment, you're the chieftain, you're basically the guy that makes all the choices, right? Like many other games. But the chieftain's house is not upgradable for a reason. You cannot even remove it, and it cannot be destroyed, because it's basically the future palace. And I think I barely talked about this. It's going to be like a surprise on a future update. But basically, the chieftain's house gets automatically upgraded. There are only 2 upgrades. If you reach like 200 population, it gets upgraded, and you don't do anything about it. It doesn't give you any bonus. But what it's already designed and mostly made, I'm just doing some fine changes. But what I wanted to do is basically a palace that can be upgraded like the houses, regular houses. The palace can be upgraded, and it's going to be unlocked as you progress, and as your city gets bigger, you can basically not only expand your palace, which is has a very specific style, but it can even change the style. So it will, at the moment, it's just one style, but it will be available in at least 2 architectural styles when the update for that is going to be released. And the plan is to have like 3 or 4 architectural styles. So it could be like more like a Greek temple, or more like Inca temple, or like a Japanese temple. It's always inspired, of course, but yeah, at the moment the idea is to have fully upgradable. And yeah, I already have all the sprites, and it looks really beautiful, but it's something I will reveal in a future update.
So when it comes to the actual palace house of the player's house, the manor, any upgrade that happens, that's not gonna lead to any like bonus or anything like that. It's just a visual, and of course you feel good because you have a bigger place to to have like, I don't know, slaves, mistresses, I don't know, like dogs, goats, I don't know.
I'm not really sure if there's gonna have like something change in game in terms of stats or bonus. I'm still not sure about it because the game is designed not counted with it.
Right.
But yeah, it's something that I'll think about it because even I am learning about LakeSide. I am the developer, but the idea to release it on early access on this early stage is to get feedback from players and learn more about the game, because the game has a lot of things that you're gonna learn, how it plays out during the late stages. Sometimes things change, and even I cannot predict everything. So what players will like, what players will do, and so that's it. It's part of the plan.
Right. So speaking of part of the plan, because I mean, in previous city, well, in any city builder pretty much, they have a big impact, like the citizens. So how do they behave in LakeSide specifically? Because I know, like, from other games, they can be very annoying and very demanding, and that's like chillax. Okay, I get you. I know you want food. I know you want clean roads. I get it. They're always very demanding. So what are the kind of the characteristics of the citizens in LakeSide? Like what would be their like, do their desires become more complex as the city grows? Do they ask of you various things? What's their behavior like?
Well, the design for this city is like being a cozy city builder means that I remove a lot of stuff, so it's more simple in that term. So you cannot see any personal citizen. It's more like a general managing of things. So you of course have resources like food and make sure that you have housing, and the water capacity means the city capacity, which means you have to have water source buildings. And you don't manage the game don't do micromanagement in that sort of way. I've simplified it, but there are missions that you receive from the citizens to build certain things, but that is mostly linear. But there are some things that do happen. Some, I would say, that are like variables that are hidden from the player, which are like, for example, if there are a lot of deaths from homelessness or from starvation, there might be riots. So there are some things that will impact the later game.
Riots?
So
does that mean that the player can be ousted from?
Well, at the moment, the game doesn't have actually a lose condition in which the riots will make you lose the game, but it's actually planned for early access. I'm just making sure it feels okay. So basically, if you have a stable population, your city is fine, it should be okay. But if you keep losing population due to starving issues or some other, and if you don't keep them happy, there might be a situation in
consequences
which gets burned.
Wow.
which is something that I've planned for it. The game plays, it's more easy at the moment. I think the game plays more easily. But yeah, that's it. There's some factors that change. For example, there's also the foreign relations in which you have to be careful also. But at the moment, the current version of the game it's very easy. It's something that is not gonna happen. But I will introduce it on future updates. Things that new features like diplomacy, etc., and the part with which you have to deal with your citizens.
So, going back to something that you mentioned previously about like the verticality, because it makes sense, right? So any limitation in space, right, is going to bring various solutions, because humans are smart and they improvise. So how prominent is verticality in LakeSide? I know, for example, in the houses, like citizen houses, you can unlock upgrades that allow it to become, to add a story, an extra story to the building, so it's bigger, it can house more people. Is that something that's seen in like later stages as well? Like, I don't know, like maybe buildings that have several stories, like production buildings, I don't know, like hanging gardens, anything like that?
Well, of course, the wonders, hanging gardens is one wonder of the world, you can build it. But yeah, on the late stages, well, it depends, of course, on the scenery. The game has several random scenarios in which you build, and some are more flat than others. At the moment, I've introduced just a few, but as you progress with your city, you can build. Generally, the strategy is to demolish buildings and build better ones that are taller. So, but at the moment, the verticality thing is limited by what you do and what the kind of scenarios you're playing on. But it's something that's going to be explored in a future update, in which you can do platforms on the water to build houses on the water level, not just water buildings, but regular buildings, and even increase another platform on the scenario. It's a plan. I think it should be out in like a couple months. It's going to be part of a big update. But at the moment, the only verticality you have, it's with the house upgrades and building higher building or higher tier buildings of the
same type
of the previous
like
one. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Especially, I would really like to see like the non-production buildings on the lakeside. That would be really cool, because right now it's all about fishery and about fishing, which makes sense, obviously, arbors and stuff like that. It would be just nice to see maybe some suspended houses just above. That would be really cool
that's exactly the plan. Actually, in terms of history, for example, I'm from Lisbon, and Lisbon, the downtown area is actually built on stakes. You cannot see, of course, that, but it's basically they retrieve some land from the river, so they build the city on top of it. And the idea is I want to replicate some of it. I've got other cities in Europe that have built in reclaimed land from the sea. But yeah, that's the idea.
No, that's. I mean, I can't wait to see that, because that's like that's human ingenuity, which is really cool to see. And like you see the progress. You start with just one house on a land in a farm, and then you grow into something so big, and you advance so much that you get to see all these. I mean, contraptions of buildings. Let's just say.
Yeah. I could even say that there's. I have actually avoided to use too much stacking on the houses,
right.
But one of the original ideas was to just keep stacking. It does get unrealistic for the age to have so many buildings on top of each other, but it might be something that could put in the near future. Yeah,
but
it's a very interesting idea.
Since something happened in the game right now that I play, earthquakes. So what would be so earthquakes are part of the game, something that obviously it's part of the history of mankind, and that's one of the issues that they had to deal with. In addition to that, what maybe you can talk about let's say the disasters or potential disasters that can happen in Lakeside, and maybe that can their results on the city, the potential results on the city, and if the player can mitigate those that damage in some way or fashion.
Yeah, there are of course the classic calamities that history is shown, like earthquakes and fires are the most common. Fires are very common during the Middle Ages, and I haven't put like typhoons and hurricanes because, well, in terms of history in Europe, it's not something that actually happened too much. But the earthquakes and the how do you call them, the
fires,
the way. No, the fires.
The
waves,
tidal waves. Tidal waves.
The tidal waves, yeah.
Yeah.
That actually happened in Lisbon also. It basically got destroyed by a big earthquake and then tidal waves. Yeah, it got destroyed in 1755.
Really? No.
Yeah, it was like one of the biggest disasters in terms of cities in Europe, natural disasters. But yeah, that's interesting to do. At the moment, I just got fires and earthquakes, which are the most common. And yeah, I plan to place a bit more calamities. But I would say that, yeah, they're mostly random, but the severity of it are based on the types of buildings you have. But of course, you could get bad luck and still have a lot of buildings destroyed. Yeah. But usually fires propagate from each other, but there's a limit and depends on the water wells you have, for example. But at the moment, I'm still balancing. Sometimes it looks like unfair, like you have all the water wells and still get a big fire. It can happen. It's just probability reduction, I would say. So it's all about the odds. So yeah, it works like that. About the earthquakes, there's nothing you can do about it. But what I'm trying to make probably is that you can do like the architecture house, their house for architects, and I would say that probably that's going to change and improve the way, so the earthquakes don't destroy as many buildings, so your buildings are more earthquake proof, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't also maybe the higher tier buildings be, you know, maybe like stronger like that, or like, or as it is right now, it doesn't. That's not
at the moment. Yeah, at the moment it's just basically
the same chances,
random.
the same chances of like being destroyed.
The
but,
fires,
okay.
the fires do not destroy some buildings, very specific buildings, but and usually start on the houses. But yeah, I think. Yeah, it could, but I don't think they spread to certain kind of buildings, so it'll be safe. But in theory, I mean, as history goes, anything can burn. Even stone buildings did burn. So yeah.
So one of the things that that I've observed, and I was kind of like wondering what's going to happen with the resources. So being a city that you're building in a very limited space, you're going to be well, there's going to be scarce resources, right? And throughout history, people have managed to do, you know, to mitigate that by obviously by trade, you know, getting resources, well, conquering other lands usually to get the resources from there. That's pretty much how it worked. So in LakeSide, how can you manage the resources when something's like scarce, or just something like stone right now? I don't think I have much stone or to get, for example. How could you know, get different types of resources that you're very low on? Is there something like that you know, you can do exchanging? Are there buildings like the, you know, that you can do regular trading?
Yeah, it's part of the design of the game. So at the start, you just use your local resources, and they're supposed to end, of course, because they're very local. And actually, by mining those resources, you actually get more space, because you get the forests out, but you get more space to build. But you have to, of course, find alternative ways to get wood and stone, etc. There are some buildings that do provide those resources without having them, but mostly, which is the way it is planned, you should be able to buy markets or exchange houses in which you will exchange a resource for the other. At the moment, I've got exchanges for most of the resources, and it should be pretty. At the moment, I think the game is quite easy, in which by the time if you don't waste your resources, by mid game, I would say you can build those and get the resources going. But I would say that I will try to even make it harder, but because originally the game had all the resources there. You couldn't even mine gold and metal on the spot, and it's something that it might appear even metal ore on your city. But the idea is that you always have to make choices about the buildings you unlock, and what to specialize on. It's something that at the moment the game is a bit easier on that department, but I'm trying to balancing out, so you really have to choose a specialization for your city. So while you can produce, I would say, for example, you can produce a lot of food and a lot of wood or stone, but you need to trade the resources for the others on the exchanges to get those. But yeah.
So I think maybe you've also introducing certain scenarios where, like, the city can have, you know, maybe like 2-3 resources, and then everything else you have to trade for it. So like you won't be able to get, like, you know, like this, I don't know, this island has no metal. Like, you can dig however much you want, but there's no metal, so you have to trade for it.
Yeah, there's basically usually the most, if you just do regular play, what ends up is that you can produce food, but you cannot produce anything else. It just ends up what you will need to do. It's at the moment, I think the game is fairly easy, unless you're really unlucky with unlocks, but you can just basically trade the food with gold, and then with the gold you can either buy the buildings in which you can exchange, or at the late game there are going to be some traders that are going to offer you either the resources directly or offer you a yearly exchange. For example, they're going to exchange 10 gold for 50 stone each year during 10 years, I would say. So we'll have that option later in the game.
Okay, that's because that's the biggest one of the biggest problems with something's in such a limited space. Like, well, you're not be able to, you can't just, chop wood infinitely here because you're gonna cut it all off. So obviously it makes sense that you have to get other stuff from resources from other places. Now, anything I think of adding anything throughout the early access period in regards to resources, or are these the ones, like the one that the game starts with? These are the ones that are gonna stay throughout, throughout early access, and that's how it's gonna launch.
Yeah, these kind of resources should be, the main resources should be this. I don't plan to add any more resources because later on I have buildings, like for example buildings for defense when you get on sieges and you can be attacked. So you can even have like armies, standing armies, which is something that's gonna be reserved on future updates. But I don't plan any more resources than you already have. But I do plan specializations, which means that you can build, for example, a building that has a vineyard and you can produce wine. Basically, you're gonna exchange that good for another good. You don't.
You don't actually use the wine, right? The wine is not an actual resource.
Wine, but it will produce either gold or some other resources. For that,
Oh yeah, that makes sense, and it makes sense in the context, and also with the resources. Like you can maybe make like I don't know, like have a sheep farm, and you can make fleece, right? You're not going to use any fleece with the resources that are available, and you can exchange it for something else, right?
It's usually it's a good that you produce and it gets exchanged with something else.
Now, when it comes to like the third X period, like what you're planning to add throughout all that, are you thinking of maybe adding an editor where people can kind of build their own LakeSide scenarios to maybe to share with others? Play themselves and share.
There's at the moment the creative mode, which you can just place buildings wherever. You don't actually play the city because you can just put repeat buildings. It's just to, I would say, take screenshots or just look at it. But there's a creative mode, and at the moment the creative mode, what does it just pick up a random scenario. What I want really to add is like a way to actually build your own scenarios. At the moment, the creative mode is very simple. Just load up a scenario and just place buildings. But what I want to do, and should be actually out very quickly, is that you can select the how do you call it, the type of scenario, in which is green hills or mountain range, and it will just appear that tab, even if it is already randomized. But later, as I have time to implement it, you could even control the tiles. Basically, just build it tile by tile, your scenario.
And would, like, expanding on that, would players be able to like make specific scenarios with like the specific like win scenarios with like maybe tie it to a certain period in time, like base it on something to make like to add a more a story element to the scenarios? I mean,
that would be great, and I would really love to do it. But the fact is that it's basically modding. You're talking about modding the game. I mean, I haven't planned it in detail. For the way I built the game, it's very possible. But at the moment, I'm not focused on that. I just need to make sure the game has all the features that I want during early access. But if I do have the time to make a proper mod system, which people can mod it their way, or even create scenarios, that would be great. But at the moment, I cannot do any promises. I'll just try to focus on these updates in the following months. But maybe by the time we have, like, before the 1.0 release out of early access, it might be a thing. I mean,
if it's requested, like a lot of people want.
I do know in terms of coding, it's a lot of work. So, but yeah, I'll think about it. Who knows? If people request a lot, I might have to get the time to do it.
And speaking of coding, right, a good segue. What are you using for LakeSide? What engine did you choose, and why?
Okay, the game was made on originally, and the first demo was that originally made on HTML5, basically web platform. But I had to change it by the time like I actually did the change 4 months ago. So basically, the game got remade 4 months ago on Unity because of the ports. Because it's very painful to do ports on HTML5 using just JavaScript. There's a lot of technicalities that make it very hard to release a game on for example, on Nintendo Switch. And I changed it to Unity because it's much easier doing ports. And I can actually find help for programming help, and it's much easier because there's a lot of people that know Unity than other type of languages. So originally it was a custom framework on JavaScript, something that I made. But right now is Unity.
And since you mentioned that, so you like your ideas or your intention is to bring LakeSide to other platforms. So it's launching tomorrow, by the way, if you're watching live, this September 28th. It's launching in early access on Steam. But that's for PC. What other platform would you like to bring it on? You mentioned Switch. Would that be like the next target for you?
Yeah, if I'm gonna release on more platforms, it would be on Switch. I released for the Warp, my previous game, on Switch, and it went all right. It does take some time, of course, to adapt stuff, but yeah, it's on the plans. But not it's gonna be soon because I still want to make sure the early access is done, all the features are in the game before even think of releasing to consoles. But yeah, the plan is to release at least for one console, but I'm not sure because there are several factors at play. Of course, the Switch is. There might be a new Nintendo console next year, who knows? So yeah, but yeah, by having on Unity, I can just port it much easier to other platforms. That's the plan.
Right, and you do have the experience from for the win. And are you thinking maybe like beyond that, maybe like consoles, as in like Xbox, PlayStation? Would you think LakeSide could be put on those, like especially with the controls? I'm thinking maybe that's that'll be a little bit.
No, yeah, it's
a bit more different. It's not necessarily
because the Switch you have to touch. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it can be done. It's a city builder, so it's not that easy. But with the touch controls from Switch, I think it should be okay. You'd have to use, of course, touch controls and still have the option to use the controller. But with touch, it would be much easier to pick the spot where you can build. But yeah, the thing with PlayStation is that releasing a game as an indie developer on PlayStation is really hard to promote, and you get a lot of work, and the game isn't featured anywhere. So you're gonna sell terribly on PlayStation, which sometimes that I've seen from some developers happen. On Xbox, it should be a much more easy thing to do. So yeah, but in terms of priority, I would say first a Nintendo console, in which indie games do sell better, and after that Xbox. But about PlayStation, I'm not really sure. This is the kind of game that would sell well. But yeah, it's a possibility. If I adapt all the controllers to the game, it will be relatively easy to launch for any type of console, even mobile.
So the way it is, especially now, how LakeSide is now, it seems like it's a very, let's say, a very newbie-friendly type of game where someone who may not have experience with any city builders can just come in and understand the mechanics and do quite well in it. Was that one your intention to make it a bit more friendly to newcomers to the genre?
Yeah, that was always the main objective. Actually, it was supposed to even be a more light city builder, I would say, and I really want to add actually a custom mode in which you can, instead of playing the regular mode, you can just play the custom mode, which game doesn't have so many events popping up. So the management is a bit more easy, more relaxed, I would say. So it's more of a cozy city builder. That's in the plans, because at the moment I think the game does get a bit, need a lot of management in the mid game and late game. But yeah, I would say that the game is much easier because it has less things you need to focus on. So I would say it would be a more simple city builder than the others. Yeah.
Well, because I'm thinking like this would be a good introduction for someone who's like maybe a younger audience. Maybe like don't just start with like city skylines. Just start with something that's it looks really sweet. It's colorful. It's nice. It's it's easy to kind of get into it. and then maybe if you like it, then move on to other stuff as well. So it seems like it would be a very good introduction to the genre as it is right now. And of course, even if it's more difficult, oh, my town has perished, for example, that's, even if that happens sometimes, then
can you just a question, I
Sure.
just saw that you were playing. What did you do to lose the game at that?
I've no idea. I just links. It wasn't it wasn't something
Maybe
planned.
did
I
you
mean,
put any farms?
no, I think I had
or lost
some.
the farms in...
Yeah, probably lost some farms. You can look back if you like on the stuff, because it wasn't. I played seriously previously, so it wasn't like so it was just events and stuff. I didn't have any more stone. That was the problem. It's fine. It happens. Like, that's fine. The cities come and go. That's not unusual. Like human history tells us.
At the moment, but I'm just curious because actually I'm seeing. I'm just going back on and seeing the video. Because it might have been an issue with either the housing. You lost actually the only houses you had. And you basically had no housing except the.
I mean, come on, wait. First of all, it's it's early access, so give a little bit of leeway to hell. I mean, come on.
Because in my ear, just might have found a bug that I.
Well, I think I found a bug where the freaking window with buildings doesn't disappear, so that's a problem. But it's okay, it's fine. It can be fixed. It's not a huge issue. It can be fixed.
But the thing is, you have no housing, and you should have always at least 5 housing. You didn't have, so you basically lost because of the housing, and not because of the.
I mean, you know what? I don't like people. Okay, you want me to admit it? I don't like people so much, so I didn't put houses. So it's like I just want a nice city to look at. That was pretty much it.
You build house. So okay.
I'm sorry, but
I'll check it out.
It's fine. It's not. It's
turned 670, so you're quite ahead on the game, and you have some resources. I understand that you had no stone, but that wouldn't be a problem, at least with your population. But I see that you basically lost all housing.
It's fine.
I check it.
Live and learn. That's perfectly fine. That's no problem.
To be fair, the game had a lot of at the start. I made the game to be able to lose more often, and I made it more easy in terms of really losing, getting the game over pop up in which your population gets to 0.
Right.
But I made it more easy, and somehow you made it. You.
I mean, you know what? I have luck with these things. I was just yesterday. So I was playtesting some game jam projects, and one of them, they didn't work that well. I sunk an hour and a half into it, and the last puzzle wasn't that great. Anyway, I left that. I started another one, and just my luck, right? I playtested that one, and I ran into a bug that no one else ran into, and I couldn't finish the game. So that was fun. So you know what? I'm just lucky with those things. It happens, But that's a good thing, because that's you get you get the experience, you get the feedback, and then you fix whatever happened there. Unless it was human error, which is very possible to be human error. When I'm not paying attention, I can play really, really badly. So
I understood the issue. We had no housing, but at least you should have at least the Chieftain's house does add 5 housing, so it should be survivable, I would say. But anyway, you still lost.
That's fine.
But I think because you had a higher population and it started decreasing very quickly, and
It's okay.
I'll check it out. But it's always good to see new things, because I never actually saw a game went that far and reached the game over in which your population goes to 0. Yeah.
Well,
so,
you know what?
Thank you for the report.
For playing so badly. It's fine. It's good. This is feedback. I mean, creative mode is much more suitable for this type of thing, where I can't think really, because I'm listening to you, that's where my focus is, and I'm not focusing on the game. So creative mode, I think, is better for this type of thing, where I don't have to worry about actually getting resources and repairing stuff, and building specific types of buildings and stuff. So I'm just gonna keep on creative mode, because it's very sweet, and it's even more cozy than the regular game. So that the regular mode. So tell me a little bit about the audio. So I mean, in terms of what's available right now, it seems like it's very maybe medieval style, like kind of like a medieval tavern with like I don't know, like it's nice. It's like nice in the sense that it's kind of cheerful. This at least I haven't heard any points where it's like where the music turns more dramatic or anything like that. It seems like a very light, enjoyable kind of like medieval tavern atmosphere to the music.
Yeah, the music is made by a composer, a great composer called Martin Stonehouse. It's from UK, and yeah, the musics are made specifically for this game. I think at the moment there's 4 tracks for the game that keep playing on the background. There will be more, but yeah, they're all the same kind of I would say cheerful or cozy. I think some of them are actually a mix between what you would say more like medieval or classic music mixed with a bit of I would say electronic, more modern take on the genre, but yeah, I really like it. And of course, you actually have a small track, a negative small track when the raiders appear. And yeah, but usually like it's like this.
So since we mentioned multiple times that it's coming early access, was that the plan all along? Because I know For the Win launched in early access. So
For the Warp, sorry, I know.
For the if FTW is like it's
intentional.
Yes, I know. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I know. For the Warp, sorry. So by the way, everyone should try it because it's a really it's a challenging and fun sci-fi rogue and looks gorgeous as well. I think I've live streamed it several times. So that came out in early access. Was your intention from the beginning to go with LakeSide with the same path, gather feedback, like bring it out to the public, before the 1.0 release? Was that from the beginning, or
always the plan? It was always the plan. I already knew that with For the Warp was going to be like this. Because the kind of games, of course, matter. Type of games that you play, because these kind of games do really work well with early access because it's something that it's incremental. You add more stuff, more features. I wouldn't say that it would work with like a point-and-click adventure game or a story-based game. So yeah, and it's very important early access at the moment for small indie developers like me, because we can actually release the game sooner and get more feedback and makes the game more viable, because you have time to build up your audience, and of course you can make the game start selling sooner than later. I don't have enough resources to develop a game for like 2 years. So yeah, the game will be unfinished on the market on early access, of course.
Don't say like that. No. The game is coming out in early access. It's being built together with you. Don't say unfinished. That's a negative term. We don't use negative terms.
I'm not a good market. I'm not.
You're doing fine. It's not unfinished. It's in production, and you can actually participate in this production. That's one of the great things about early access. It's not unfinished. No negative words about it.
It's the truth. It's the truth, to be fair. I do receive a lot of feedback and a lot of stuff that I haven't remembered to do. People do suggest it, but this type of game is really something that needs a lot of balance from a lot of players playing it, giving feedback. So I already knew that it was gonna be impossible for me to try to balance it with even just a small team trying to playing it. It was gonna be impossible. So I prefer use the same style that a lot of games are using nowadays with early access, and I know a lot of players don't like playing early access game, which is fine, but there are enough players that like to do that and don't mind. And I've got good feedback from For the Warp regarding during the early access phase. It was actually quite pleasant, I would say. And yeah.
And speaking of feedback, so you did have an even earlier build as a demo for LakeSide. What has been the response from that? Like I feel last year, right? I think like during autumn.
Yeah, last it was a year ago.
Yeah. So what? So quite. I mean, that much earlier, right? Different engine as well.
Yeah,
What was
completely.
yeah, exactly. So what was the feedback at that point from the people who've played it,
Well,
tried it?
weirdly, I wouldn't say that. Well, to be fair, I launched. It was barely a prototype. I would say barely. A lot of things weren't actually working, just at the basis. Um, but to be fair, I actually got some good feedback. I was afraid that people were just pointing out the wrong stuff or stuff that wasn't working. That was quite obvious. But actually got pretty impressed that picture. Some people actually liked it and saw the videos they put there, and I was seeing, oh, people are going to talk bad about the game because it's just a prototype. It has like 20 buildings and you can do actually much. And I was surprised that people actually liked it. In, I would say, in average, they pointed out the things that were missing, and with obvious stuff like barely a tutorial, no explanations for anything, and yeah, I would say that I was surprised because, to be fair, I was a bit ashamed of putting the builds as it was back then, because it didn't add much. But I just went with it. It was very early in the process. I think the game was. I think the game had like 3 months, if at all, of work on it. Maybe less. And so, but just wanted to push it out and see the feedback. So I think it went well. Not many people played it because I put it offline like one week after the demo was up, because it was never my intention to keep it up because it didn't represent the final game. And yeah, to be fair, I was expecting much worse feedback than I got, but it was still a very bare bones prototype.
Yeah, I mean, I played it. And I've covered it, and to me it was obvious it was very early, and also it was obvious that this was like a very very early teaser of the potential of LakeSide. So you shouldn't get it like, oh, it has this. It's like, no, it has the potential for this to be grand, this to be grand, this to be awesome, this to be fun. Like like the expansion side, I think, like the potential of the game, I think, showed in that demo, and I think that's one of the cool things about it. And again, given the fact that it was so early, like you should give some leeway to it, and I liked it. Well, to be fair, though, I did follow LakeSide from the very beginning, especially because of the absolutely gorgeous pixel art, which kudos to the artist, because this is like, I think your games are both well, actually Massive Galaxy from the beginning, and whatever we saw back then with For the Warp, and now with LakeSide, absolutely stand out gorgeous, all of them. It's not even it's not even a comparison. It's like it's I think you might even be able to tell the style, like someone who's played your games might be able to tell the style from other other pixel art titles with this type of, because it's very unique. So I think that's a very standout feature of LakeSide. It's absolutely gorgeous visuals, which make it so I think so immediately appealing. So even if you're not a fan of the genre, even if I don't know, maybe you don't like early access games or whatever, the fact that it looks so good in screenshots and in GIFs and videos, I think would help, would push more people to try it because of that. And it's really, this is just me praising you for the for the stuff, because
Thanks.
It's pixel art. I've said multiple times, it's probably the style that impresses me the most. Like the fact that the imagery that people can come up with, given the limitations, is incredible to me. I'm not impressed by 3D anymore. I'm really like that stopped kind of in the mid, I don't know, maybe 2015, maybe 2010, 2015, something like that. It just didn't impress me anymore. I don't know why. It's just like the visual style, the increase wasn't that big. It wasn't impressive to me. I wasn't impressed anymore by 3D games in general, like AAA titles, I mean, right? But with 2D, it's such a huge improvement, year on year, and you see artists doing such great things. And LakeSide is probably one of the standard bearers for this type of visual style, which is, I don't know, it's very indie, but it's also very polished. You know what I mean? It's such a, anyway. I just want to spend 5 minutes on praising the visual style. Just try it because of that. Just try it just so you can enjoy the gorgeousness of the scenery, which is, I don't know, it reminds me a lot of the old Impressions games, which were, well, obviously it was a different style. It was isometric and everything. It was like 2D. It wasn't pixel art, but it was they were hand drawn, right? But it's those were standout, and I think Lakeside stands out as well in that regard. So it's like I can't wait to see like more buildings as the game goes on in early access. Which, by the way, we go on that. What's the plan for pricing upon launch and later on? What are you thinking?
Yeah, at the moment the game is going to be priced at $14.99, so $15 or €15. Well, I've said on the early access description on Steam that the price might go up, but I'm still not sure if it's going to be up. But usually, I would say it would be up just a bit, just to make sure. For example, if the game gets released on Switch, which will get a bit more expensive, just all the prices are the same. But yeah, that should be it. At the max will be $19.99 when the game releases on 1.0 in 6 months to 1 year ago, in 1 year. So yeah, that's it. I might increase the price or I might not. If the game sells well, there might be no really. I might don't. It's fine. I've made enough money, so I'm not gonna up the price again. So that's it. So yeah, I'm not. No really hard plans regarding that.
But starting at $14.99, like upon early access release. That's
actually on
that's
release tomorrow. There's going to be a 10% discount. So
okay, nice,
yeah.
Even better.
So a little bit, 10%
Yeah.
less than $14.99.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be, and I'll keep releasing discounts, of course, during early access.
So this is you're self-publishing LakeSide. Have any publishers? I don't know. You don't have to name names, obviously. That's too intimate. Like about reaching out to you about maybe helping financially with LakeSide, maybe bringing it to other platforms, like you mentioned the Switch. Was that on the table, or were you thinking like, no, this is my baby, I'm putting it just like for the warp, and we'll see what happens afterwards?
Yeah. Initially, actually, I wanted to get a publisher for the warp at the start, but quickly I knew that it wasn't gonna be that much work for me to just get the game out. And when it got out, because it did gain some revenue, so it self-sustained me. So I had enough money to release the Switch ports without a publisher. Regarding this game, Lakeside, it's self-funded because of the previous game, of course. And I had a lot of publishers contacting me. To be fair, nowadays, if you have I would say a mid-level
audience,
if you can reach the audience, got some wish lists, and the publishers will know that because they have all those tools to know if your game is already popular or not. Even just a retweets or a popular tweet on Twitter might get you a lot of attention from publishers. This is of course this is like conversation to other game developers, maybe not the public, but to be fair, Lakeside got quite a lot of wish lists at the moment, and I basically got contacted from most of the publishers that I know of. To be fair, when you get to a certain level, publishers will talk to you, not the other way around. But at the moment, I just want to self-publish. I would say. Nice. Maybe I might need a publisher for, I would say, the Switch, not to do the game, but maybe promote it, because marketing on Steam and marketing on a console like Nintendo is quite different. I'm familiar with Steam, but Nintendo not so much, and I have no idea how to get to certain markets. And then I don't have money to just pay for ads infinity. Like, you could spend a lot of money with that. So yeah, at the moment I'm just focusing on self-publishing. If I'm releasing a bigger game in the future, I might need a publisher, but at the moment, I'm trying to keep the team small and self-publish.
Okay, so now is going to the future, like past Lakeside. I know it's coming out tomorrow, so it's not like it's still it's would Massive Galaxy be the next thing you would want to work on, or would you like would you still be inclined to do like a smaller project? Is that too big? Like because I'm thinking, because okay, the first time I saw Massive Galaxy, I was like, wow, this is gonna the scope, like, you're obviously the one who knows the scope. To me, it seemed like it attracted me instantly. It looked like it had very much a lot of potential in my view, and I get it that it was maybe too much, right? It was too much, right? Back then,
Yeah.
like, as you know, years go by and you get more experience, and you, obviously, you know, this Lakeside is going to be your second self-published title, which is a huge thing, right? Are you thinking that, you know, you'd be ready to make the step towards Massive Galaxy, or you know, you're not in a hurry for that right now?
Yeah, I really want to release Massive Galaxy, but to be fair, I would probably need to remake 90% of the game. The game, there's some good things. I've got the game designed, I got the scope figured out, but it's still a lot of work. But to be fair, I would probably just develop it alongside another title. So yeah, what I want really to do is like to not actually working two games at the same time, but manage two games. And yeah, what I want, to be fair, is like either start working or finishing Massive Galaxy next, or getting a publisher to getting a bigger title, but still doing Massive Galaxy. So, but at the moment I cannot do any promises. But yeah, I already know what I need to do regarding finishing Massive Galaxy. But unfortunately, because of early access period for Lakeside, I cannot do any promises really.
Right? No. Obviously, like, this is your focus. So for everyone, you know, questioning anything, no, Gonzalo is going to be all in on Lakeside until it's finished and it's working really well, and it has virtually zero bugs. Let's just say that virtually zero bugs, because nothing is perfect. That's impossible to say zero bugs, like, but virtually zero bugs. No, but yeah, that's fair. So he's focused on this, and it's going to be, you know, he's going to make Lakeside, you know, awesome. And so that's you know, his next 6 months to years.
To be fair, I'm not the kind of developer that struggles in finding ideas. My problem is having too many ideas. I've got like a log of, I'm not exaggerating, like probably more than 100 ideas, and I would say like 10 of them, 10 of them are really good, and I already know what I will be the kind of game I will be doing in the next 3 years or something, besides Massive Galaxy, because I really want to do those games. But yeah, but that will be, of course, depend on the money I make, keeping surviving, because yeah, I cannot, I'm not sure. But yeah, because if Lakeside doesn't sell it enough, I would need to release another short game, a game that could be done in less than 1 year and release it again. That's the reality, because if I go back to job market working for another company, I'll probably stop releasing new stuff. So that's really the reality of being an indie developer. It's not. I'm very lucky that I'm in this position, that I can self-publish and have enough money to sustain myself. But that could change. The money is not infinite.
Right. So what the hidden code here is buy Lakeside. Like, buy Lakeside when it comes out, so we can see Massive Galaxy and all other projects. Now, one thing that, you know, maybe this is more like an observation for me, hopefully you don't mind, with For the Warp and with Lakeside compared to Massive Galaxy, at least, you know, like, seeing the contrast, to me at least, it seems like obviously the scope is much smaller, but also on the narrative side, I think both For the Warp and Lakeside are a lot lighter than Massive Galaxy would be. Is that something that, like, is that something that you kind of like walked away from to some extent because of the complexities that it brings? Or did you want to focus more on the mechanics, on, like, you know, like the experience of releasing a game, and then, you know what I mean? Because I don't think you're not. I think you do want to release a very narrative-heavy game with Massive Galaxy, but these two, right, are not. They're pretty much exactly the opposite of that, and that's not
Exactly.
I'm not knocking them. You know, I'm not criticizing the games or you for making that choice. I'm just seeing that like, well, you really want to do that, and that, you know, like an adventure with the scope and all the planets and everything like that. That's like huge amount of story and lore and story.
Yeah.
And dialogue, and the next your next things are like your next projects that you release are very light on that side.
Yeah.
Is
It's all
that
about scope.
yeah? It was that was the big thing that you like. The narrative would have expanded the game too much, so you wanted to rein that in as much as
Yeah,
possible.
but I think some people don't realize that writing. I mean, writing can be easy, but writing
No,
the narrative,
writing good good stories.
yeah, that's the question. Writing can be easy, but writing good. Doing a narrative game in which you not only have to do writing, makes sense, and actually script the whole thing, because it works like, I would say, like making a scene. Massive Galaxy had a lot of that. So you have a script, so the character says that, and then the other character says something, and it has a lot. It's quite complex, and what I wanted to do would be more in the way like I'm trying to think of games now. I'm forgetting a big game. Forgetting the name of a big narrative game, but let me say,
describe it so I can guess it, because that's a fun game. I'm not joking.
Disco Elysium.
Okay, right. Okay, that's very heavy. Yes.
Very heavy. That's the
that's fair. Yeah. No, but that's
yeah. And the way you play Disco Elysium, with that lot of text, it's some parts of the game of Massive Galaxy add that. So that's the problem. I was basically alone with the coding and writing and scripting, and I have probably more than 20,000 words, and should be a lot more for the game. And yeah, the problem with the game was not only that, it was not only big in terms of scope, but actually was trying to do things different. I've told about this. I've never talked in detail, but in some interviews I actually talked about this. That the game was supposed to be something new on the genre, so it didn't play like a regular point-and-clicking game, and it has a story. But each time you play it, it would be different. That's the problem. So it was always the plan. I was never gonna make a more simple game. So the game had like regular exploration and trading, so that regular game mechanics, but also have a lot of narrative, and each time you play it would be different, which means that the narrative part, how can I could explain it? So
it required a huge amount of work.
Yeah, but you start a new game and you see the story one way, and by the time you finish it, the game actually invited you to play again. Only playing for 2 or 3 runtimes, you actually see the whole story, because some parts you'll get in random order, some parts you get a different part. So each time you play, you actually would see different scenes, and the same thing is each time it would be basically each player would play
a different game basically
from everyone. There would actually be like 4 billion different combinations. And that's the thing. I wanted to play a narrative game with those elements, and I knew what was needed to do that. And by the time I was like in 2 or 3rd year of development, I knew that it's not going to happen. And of course, I had of course productivity problems, because you cannot just work on something for so many years and not have need to rest or do some other thing. So basically, For the Warp actually was born from a small part of Massive Galaxy, just the exploration thing, with a few new deck building mechanics, and yeah, that was the thing with Massive Galaxy. Too ambitious, not only in scope, but actually in trying to do new things. And the narrative parts, it's something that I really really want to do. I read a lot of sci-fi books, and that would be like an experimental narrative book, interactive book, I would say. Some parts of it do look like that. And yeah, so that was the whole problem. The game was just too big for just one person doing all the writing and coding.
So
So, yeah, the
so
thing
buy
I did with this
buy
game-
LakeSide, so people so you can hire more people, so they can do the work, so you can focus on one aspect of Massive Galaxies. You can release that one. Because
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, even in those early days, Massive Galaxies sounded so like everything about it was so attractive. Like it's really seemed like there was so much to do and such a, I don't know, like for me right back then I was thinking, oh, this sounds like Massive Galaxy level. In terms of like exploration and talking like and like missions and side missions and planets and like it's that type of level of space adventure kind of, right? I don't know if that's for you it's a compliment or not. I like Mass Effect, so anyway, it's
Yeah. It's some things that do look like Mass Effect, I would say. Yeah.
not I'm not in the sense that it's like a sci-fi saga type of thing, like that a huge sci-fi saga. That's how Mass Effect, Mass Effect is, and Massive Galaxy
Yeah.
seemed to me, right, from the outside. It's like, oh, this is an epic sci-fi adventure, right? It's not necessarily about the point and click start. It's like, no, you can do a lot of things in this, multiple mechanics, multiple gameplay, for multiple genres and so on. So that's why it was epic was the word that always came up in my head when it came to Massive Galaxy. So hopefully, that's gonna be, maybe the next project. That would be awesome. Now, let's as we finish off, anything that I know, obviously you're very busy right now, but like with LakeSide, with releasing it in early access, and you're gonna continue on. Anything, but I'm guessing you're a gamer as well.
Yeah.
Are you? Is there anything that you're looking forward to? Maybe something that you missed and you want to play after LakeSide is launching early access. We want to take, I don't know, maybe a week to kind of de-stress with anything. Any games that are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I play a lot of games. To be fair, there are a lot of developers that don't play many games. I do take the time to play games. Nowadays, I have been able to play these past few weeks, but
makes sense. Yeah.
But the game that obviously I want to play is Monkey Island, that got released last week, I think, or go.
Last week.
Maybe next week after I launch LakeSide and most of the things are running smoothly. I plan to buy the game and play it because I really want to play that. I actually got like a huge backlog. Regarding, I'm just thinking of indie games, recent indie games like The Lone Keeper, who got launched yesterday. I really wanted to play that also.
It's also gorgeous and very challenging, very fun. I've covered like a demo of it. It's really good.
Yeah.
So if you can try it, it's really good.
I tried it. I played the jam version. Some time ago. There's a lot of things. I do play AAA games, of course. Not as often as probably I would like. I don't have time to play like 3 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour games. I just don't. Some games I really like, but and I do play some more I would say games like Magic Arena, for example. I could play Magic Arena from time to time because I played Magic back in the days in the 90s. The card game, of course. But now I don't have the time to play card game, just the digital one. It's much more convenient. And I also play like AAA first-person shooters online. Usually I spend quite just fun time, like Apex Legends, for example. I still play that. But regarding games, indie games, I mean, there's so many. So many I've got in my backlog. Mostly are indie games, and of course, I do play a lot of games for research purposes. For example,
what did you play for LakeSide, like as research?
The obvious thing. I even know part of the developer team, the Wandering Village. Of course, it's usually popular. And
I mean, like that's awesome to see. Like the success they're having. The two games with the animals. I can't remember the names. The storm one and the one with the beavers. I'm awful with names. God damn it! Timberborn. Timberborn was the beavers.
and Against the Storm, I think I found it funny because they came up with the roguelike elements on City Builder, which is the idea I also had like more than 1 year ago, and it was even some mechanics of them. I also had like very similar ideas. I found it funny. And there are, of course, the new games that play like how they call it, the Caesar games. There are new games that play like Caesar, like the Nebuchadnezzar. I'm not sure if I'm telling the name.
No, it's the one that's like in Mesopotamia, right? I believe.
Yeah. I really liked it. It played like the old games, and Lakeside does have some mechanics similar to them, but I really like those games. Kanga, which is another city builder, I actually played recently, and I still play like FANATICAL, and I'm looking forward for the remake they're making.
Yeah, exactly. I almost forgot that that's gonna.
I'm not sure when they're gonna release, but I trust the publisher will do a very good job.
Who's making like Tilted Mill? No, is it Tilted? No, who's making it? I don't remember. It was a team.
The publisher is Dotemu, the publisher.
Yeah, but I think the developer is it Tilted Mill Entertainment. That like weren't they the people that made like Children of the Nile? I think.
Yeah,
and the same. Well, it was the same. Like I don't know if it's the same team, but at least the same studio.
No, I'm actually checking. Pharaoh: A New Era. The new Pharaoh is made by Triskel Interactive.
Triskel. No, they've released. Oh, they had like a steampunk. City builder was like, I remember.
I never played that game.
They're talented. They've done a good work with.
They already got really proof of very good work, and they'll manage it quite nicely.
Yeah, that was a good choice to get them right. Yeah, because they know the Impressions games. That's the thing. Yeah. I saw Mission Impressions Studios. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like they was so much fun. Like Caesar, Pharaoh, Zeus, Emperor of the Rise of the Middle Kingdom, all of them, like absolute gems.
The weird thing is I didn't back in the day, because I played during the 90s a lot of games when I was a kid, and
you're playing Quake and stuff, right?
No. To be fair, I was playing most of the games because there weren't that many games, and I think. But I remembered I didn't play much of Caesar and Pharaoh. I played a lot of other city builders like SimCity and or strategy games like Civilization, etc. I somehow, like 10 years after, I played a lot of those games. So I played many years after they got officially released, and I really like them nowadays.
Yeah, you rediscover games like years and years after. And you're like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah, like, same thing with me because I played like mid 90s, let's say, adventure games back in the early 2000s because I didn't have a PC back then, right? So I kind of went back a little bit with certain games, and that's how you get to know older titles. And there's obviously so much fun, especially with Impressions games. There's like
a lot of games that you miss. You end up playing, for example, a lot of point and click adventure games that at least back then that I didn't have the time or didn't even manage to know the games. I played it a few months after. I probably played them all by now. And
for people who are interested in Lakeside, so in the description there's a link to the Steam page. You can visit it there, and tomorrow you'll be able to get it. Where can people reach you? Where can people follow you? You specifically, Lakeside. Your projects in general.
Yeah, I use Twitter mostly, but they can actually search for Massive Galaxy Studios on Instagram. But Twitter, if they search for Lakeside_game, they should find Lakeside. And,
there's a link in the description, yes.
And for me, it's, I'm going to spell it, ERTAIGM, basically. Or search for my name, Gonçalo Monteiro. In Twitter, they might be able to find me on Twitter. That's what I use. That you can message me there or send an email. If you find an email on Steam, there's usually a support email which goes.
If you still use email, which was funny because we talk through email, that's fine.
But you can just message me on Twitter, for example. That'd be fine.
So any thing that we missed, anything that you've wanted to mention, like, oh, this game is awesome and we didn't mention this feature, which is going to be the best thing ever? I'm not sarcastic. I'm just saying, like, do we miss anything that's awesome?
Yeah, I'm really bad at promoting my games.
No, you're
I'm not a
not. No,
marketing
you're
guy.
not. No, I think you've done great.
Yeah, in terms of using Twitter and things, I do learn a lot over the years. But personally, talking and having like that salesperson talk, yeah, not that's really not.
I
for
think
me,
you're doing
but,
great. No negative words. That's it. Just don't use negative words. No
yeah,
doubting.
Just
that's
don't talk
it.
about how buggy your game is.
No, but
yeah.
okay, but that's normal. Like anyone should expect at this point in time, right? If you're not expecting bugs in games, right? Like, I'm sorry, but that's on you. Now, of course, depending on the scope of the bugs, right? That might be a problem or not. If you have an issue and you say, okay, wait for it, right? Like wait for like don't buy it right away, right? If you want to support, especially indie developers, Gonzalo right now, LakeSide specifically, buy it as fast as possible. You can provide feedback. It's it's going to be a better and better experience, and as time goes by, and you're going to contribute to the improvement of the title with feedback, with the financial backing,
feedback,
right?
Or even just waiting out for features, and because the game at the release is something, and it's going to be quite different, even just 1 week after. And about the updates, they're actually I'm not there are at the moment, like I would say 60 buildings on the game, but there are already more than 120, to be fair. I already got sprites, everything done for more than 120 buildings. So it's probably one of the city builders with more buildings. And it's going to be expanding even more because that's how the game is designed. Each time you play, you're going to find or unlock different buildings. So that's why there are so many. So yeah, you have 5 wonders at the moment and 1 big world wonder. And the plan is to release more than 40 wonders and more than 5 world wonders. So there's plenty to do, and events, for example, like going on exploring new worlds and new events during the game in which the gameplay itself is going to change quite drastically. Even, for example, instead of one update, part of the feature is already there on the game, but one update is going to have you the option to, instead of just building up or expand your city, you can just keep the forests and do smaller buildings, and you will be able to expand your city without destroying the environment, I would say, for example.
And you can still like reach a winning state with that.
Exactly.
With that.
Actually, the forest will output more resources if you add special buildings that will unlock.
Really?
Yeah, there's actually that option. It doesn't also appear, it's randomly, but it does appear an option in which you don't live with the nature, and the forests don't actually deplete. So if you choose that option, you can you'll be able to unlock a statue that gives you more bonus. So if you keep your forests there, they will give you not only woods but more resources, as long as you don't cut them.
Also, for environmentalists, then LakeSide definitely buy it.
Well,
no, like that's a good thing because it offers different different styles for each people's
I'm
preference.
not sure if city builder is the proper way to be environmentalist, because it's city builder, so the name itself says that you're building a city. It's not the best thing for the environment, but yeah, it's just a different way to play it, and
it's good to have that option, right? Yeah, because you don't have to be like, oh, I have to destroy everything, I have to use up all the resources on this in this place in order to build a grand. Like you can, well, you can choose whichever plan of expansion you want. The point is, if you can win in both, that's great, because that's different people want to have
that's
different.
A challenge. There's going to be a challenge to, even there will be more achievements on Steam. At the moment there will be very few, but I'll keep adding achievements in which there are very specific ways in which you can win the game, and it's going to be a challenge. At the moment you won't see that, but it's going to be a big part of the victory and the challenge of the game, the victory points and the challenge of actually finishing the game a certain way. But yeah, that's going to be something very important, and on the current version and the future updates. Yeah.
And in like the 1.0 version, are you think of adding anything like any leaderboard type of feature where people can play the same scenario, maybe get, I don't know, like get to the winning stage faster, and then have anything like that, or no competitiveness on like kind of in between
understand.
players?
Yeah, the game does have a stats track in which you're gonna track your stats when you reach the end of the game. Which you see the position you lost, the position you earned, the gold you spent, etc. And doing a leaderboard is something relatively easy to do. I just want to make sure that makes sense for when the game has several victory conditions. But yeah, that's kind of the idea to do in the near future. But maybe more in the 1.0, more closer to the final launch than
right, yeah, because it's not not the most important thing, right? I don't know how you got to like 60 wonders. That's like to me, like that's you must have researched like every single thing that happened on this planet.
Well,
like
if you just type a country, fortunately, for example, I'm from Portugal. I know what the important buildings are, and I'm going to feature some of them. Well, they're not the same buildings; they're inspired, of course, and. The artist Kirokazi is from Peru, so he also gave some input on certain wonders from his region, and of course, civilization is a big inspiration regarding wonders. There's a lot of materials there, so at the moment I already got more than 40 wonders. The game only has 5, but I'll be putting them slowly during the updates.
So what would be what are you waiting for? Like the artwork? Like for the new wonders, is that what
no,
kind of like
it's done.
holding back?
No, it's done.
So
I've got the order. I got a lot of artwork already done.
Okay, so
it's the other way around.
The coding.
It's more the implementation.
The implementation, right,
yeah. Because there will be like you're making sure that when you unlock what you need to unlock certain buildings, and make sure that all the buildings have different effects. So I have to come up with ideas regarding the design and make sure they fit, because I don't want to put like 10 wonders in game that do all the same thing or
right.
So
and they also have maze,
the wonders are really very important buildings that are to get, and they should really change, either increase your stats greatly, and you can destroy their buildings so you can keep improving your city, or even a wonder that changes stats completely, so your style of game will be changed. So that's the idea. So that's why I'm slowly designing them, and as the upgrades, certain updates do certain features. The idea is to release wonders that work with those features. Also,
right.
It's something very important. So it's already pre-planned that way.
Yeah, it sounds like you have pretty much the whole period like mapped out. So like somewhere there's like a long list, like the update 1, and a long list of things, and update 2, a long list of things.
It's not that organized, to be fair. It's not that organized. I have got a long list of features, of course. I've got all the things named out, but I'm still figuring out what fits where, and try to even name, for example, an update. Usually on early access titles give a name to an update. A lot of games do that. I'm trying to do the same. Give like
as a marketing element, it could be a very flashy name that that attracts people. Of course,
it's a lot of work, of course. It's a lot of things that have to do extra doing that. But that's a plan, and hopefully. I want to go slow during early access, so I'm not gonna say it's gonna be out in 6 months. So I know that's probably 1 year.
Don't commit to a specific, right.
I know it's probably gonna be 1 year, because there's a lot of things that I want to improve and add, and some things it's not the time that you take to develop it, but actually the time to test the feedback that you get from the players, etc. Hopefully I'll have also more time to build up the community, the players community, of course. During the process.
Well, what other community would be like obviously?
No, because I don't have actually. I haven't opened a Discord channel, for example. I don't promote any Discord because I don't have time to manage
too much time.
Community.
Right.
Yeah. But if I got a bit, maybe I might open it during the early access, because the feedback is more direct. It was more easy to get feedback than just watching the forums from Steam or something like that. At the moment it's just the potential, and when players buy the game and start giving feedback, that's the part where I plan to listen a lot and plan accordingly.
and have all your plans like change. But that's a good thing, right? That if
Yeah,
you're gonna make
they're
a better
gonna
game.
change. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, all right. Well, I mean, again, for everyone watching, LakeSide is coming out tomorrow. Early access is going to be 10% off for the launch week. Just get it at the beginning because there's plenty to do. That's the thing. So even with not all the not all the 150,000 wonders that Microsoft wants to add, right? Which is impressive. You still have lots to do. Like obviously, you can lose apparently. Also, like you can try to challenge me and lose the game faster than I have, and play worse than me. And if you show me, I'm gonna give you a free game if you show me that you lost the game faster than I have lost in 600 and something years. So try it out, check it out right now. Don't like, especially if you understand, like how games work and how. There's various stages, and you're fine with a few bugs, right? Which aren't game breaking from what I've seen so far. So what I've played so far, I haven't had anything that broke the game or like crashed or anything like that. So give it a try right now. There's plenty of stuff to find. You can just chillax with the creative mode, by the way, which it's great to kind of discover the buildings before you get them in game, for example. And maybe that's also going to help you make the choice when those buildings come up in like regular play. Because maybe you'll want, like, you got two types of wonders, right? And you've seen one before, like, I want this one, instead of the other. So maybe that's gonna help if you play the creative mode beforehand. Then you're gonna know which types of buildings are gonna come up, and what you're already going to know what bonuses they're gonna offer. So check it out. Yeah, other than that, I don't know, let's I mean, for me, obviously, subscribe, check out the back catalog, pester indie game developers, especially on Twitter, to come talk to me about their games. And no, don't pester them, just suggest to them to do that. And yeah, other than that, Gonzalo, just take us out. You have the last words in this case.
Okay, thanks a lot for having me, and it was great talk. Yeah, 1 hour and a half went by.
Time flies. Time flies. When you're having fun.
You'll like the game, and the game is well. If you like city builders, I think you'll probably like it, and give it a shot. And yeah, tomorrow. Get it tomorrow because the discount is probably the best discount for some time. So you can just get it and give me feedback. Even if you hate it, or if you love it, of course.
You're not gonna hate it. You're not gonna hate it.
Just give me feedback. If you find some issues, that's part of the plan, and ways to improve the game, of course. So yeah, tomorrow at 6 p.m. GMT or 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Okay. Wow, nice. You have like the right. That's cool. That's I like it. That you have the actual hours and obviously, but that you have them like off the cuff. That's awesome. So thank you so much for coming on, everyone. Again, check out LakeSide on Steam. Coming out tomorrow in early access. Link in the description below. Wishlist it so you know when it comes out exactly, or just go there tomorrow and buy it and enjoy. I mean, enjoy the vistas. Just seriously, like, just build a grand city and just enjoy how it looks, because it's absolutely gorgeous, and you'll be the architect of that amazing site. Thank you again for watching. Thank you guys all for being here, and I'll see everyone tomorrow when we're gonna play. Guess what? Guess what we're gonna play tomorrow? Live stream. What do you think? Like, what live stream do you think I'm gonna do tomorrow? Because that's for you. Yes, exactly. Yeah, obviously LakeSide. Yes.
Dome Keeper.
No, but first of all, I don't have Dome Keeper. But even if I had, technically the launch of that game is today, and tomorrow's LakeSide, and I like to do launch live streams because that's kind of like the game is out. Tell everyone about it and make a big fuss with the live stream. So tomorrow we're gonna play LakeSide, and you're gonna see me. Hopefully not crash and burn as much, and hopefully build a nice big city with one wonder at least. We'll see. Thank you again for watching, and until the next time we see each other, have an awesome day.